I start your video? Can I start your video? Can you hear them say anything? Can you hear them say anything? I'm asking. Acha, you can increase and decrease your volume. Baba, look.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Let's decrease.
Afternoon, Trix.
Decrease.
Am I audible enough?
That's the mute button. What are you doing? That's the mute button.
Hello, Jamila.
How's it going? George, Das, really, I'm just obviously accepting all our guests here who will be with you now. We will start soon, gentlemen. We'll start soon. Just giving the guys some time to join us. We have about I think it's 90 coaches that have RSVP'd, so we'll be starting very soon. Finally, do we need our masks? We will start in a minute. I think we will keep time. We're not going to wait for everybody to come in, as we obviously have limited time. Welcome, gentlemen and lady. I see we also have lady coaches here, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And greetings to all. Thanks for joining us on our first lockdown coaches forum. The whole idea, obviously, is to make sure that we add one or two things in our coaching toolboxes, and we hope, obviously, that we will enjoy what will happen, obviously, today. I just want to just welcome everyone that has joined us. And also welcome Central Gauteng Lions partners, the Stars, and also welcome Ken from the Citizen, or the freelance journalist, and also obviously from the Citizen newspaper. I also want to welcome Gift Mate, our CSA coach education manager, Wanele Ngomezulu, our commercial and Communications Manager at Central Gauteng Lions. I also welcome, obviously, our franchise coach, the Lions franchise coach, Wandile Guavu. And yeah, it will take me the whole day to welcome everybody, but welcome, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. And just quick rules before we start, so that we can start with our session. Please, let's make sure that all our mics are switched off except for Enoch's mic and mine. And also, if you have a question or comment, at the bottom there's the reaction button there. Can we use the hand, the clap hand there as our sign, as our sign of basically to be noted for a comment, for comments or for a question. So Sias Spear, I see that he has not joined us yet, but he will be coordinating that. Will be coordinating the questions. And also note that this session is also live on Facebook through our partner, The Star. So we need to make sure that our questions and comments are based on coaching. Nothing else, but because it's all about coaching. Anything that you have or questions, basically, I mean, like in terms of personal questions to Enoch, I think you can message him privately. But this platform is only for coaching, so we're going to have coaching discussions. Basically, we will be discussing coaching, basically more or less. So yeah, and then also we will take, we have about 3 topics that we want to try and cover. So we will be taking a minimum of 5 questions, depending on the time. We'll take 5 questions or comments per topic. So after a topic, after basically Enoch has commented or spoken on the topic, then we will allow for questions and comments. Also, so we have about 3 topics, and our topics are focused on, we will be focusing on, obviously, culture, how to have tough conversations, and also how to manage burnouts throughout the season from a player's perspective. So that's basically what we will be focusing on. And can we switch off the mics? They are disturbing us. They are seriously disturbing here. We're getting a bad feedbacks. May I request that Chris to switch off your mic? Does switch off your mic?
We'll do that, Dooms.
Yeah. Okay. So also, lastly, we have about 40 minutes. Obviously, this is our first session, so we wanted to see how it's going to work, or we want to see how it's going to work. So we have 40 minutes for the first part of the session. Then after that, you basically, it will cut off the meeting after 40 minutes. Then I will request that you log in again using the same login details after 40 minutes. So that's basically that. Yeah. Now, let's get on to get on with it. Now, the purpose of the Coaches Forum, it's around basically us developing one another. And obviously, as I am in coach development space, so we try and find ways as to how we can develop, or how we can contribute in the development of every coaches. And coaching, basically, it's around, or it's equals to engagement, as Wayne Goldsmith says, that is around engagements between us, between coaches, engagement between coach and a player. So it's important that obviously we keep on engaging and also finding ways and things that will help us grow as coaches. My belief is that we can only coach players up to our level of understanding. If we do not develop as coaches, the players will not develop. So it's important for us to develop and obviously make sure that we refresh our memories all the time, so that by the time as the players grow, we also grow as well as coaches. So that's our focus. As I've mentioned, that we will be focusing on the on those topics. Now, let me introduce my guest speaker, or my guest presenter today, Enoch Nkwe. Obviously, all of us know him. He's our national assistant coach, our Proteas national assistant coach. He coached. He was an interim coach last year between October and December. And he has been around. He's one of those coaches that have earned his stripes, obviously from working from ground level, and obviously up to the top level. He started in 2005. Obviously, he started earlier than that, but in terms of coaching professionally, he started in between 2005 2010. Where he coached. He was a player coach in the Dutch, in the Dutch club. And where he won 2 trophies. Yes, he won 2 trophies basically between 2005 and 2010. 2010, he was also appointed as the Central Gauteng Lions head coach under 19. And then 2011, he was the assistant coach to the national under 19 team under Coach Ray Jennings. And he is one of those coaches that basically most of the competitions that we've had or we have at Cricket South Africa at youth level, he's as youth and obviously and senior provincial, he has won at least a trophy there. Because in 2013 he took the Lions Cups and he won the Lions the unofficial Lions Cup title, and also he was the strikers the senior provincial / strikers coach. And he won 2 trophies there. Sorry, 1 trophies between 2013 and 2019. Now, if you want more details on his bio, you can Google him. He's there on the Wikipedia. So we can Google him there and find it there. So I know that I'm talking a lot so far. So obviously, one of the things that we talk about in coaching space, it's around culture. And our topic, it's more focused on how do we get people buying into the culture. But I think because we have different coaches coaching in different spaces, I think it is important for us to first obviously get the definition of what do we mean about the team culture. And I decided to go on Google because I did not want to make mistakes by trying to use my own understanding. And Google says that team culture is an expression of a team, of team values, attitudes, and beliefs about sports. It determines whether they, for an example, the team success. The team is focusing on fun, mastery of skills, or winning, or whether to promote individual accomplishments or the team success. Culture is grounded in an identified sense of mission and shared goals. For instance, the goals for qualifying. Ruben, switch off your mic. The goals for qualifying the regional championships or national. So basically, the culture revolves around those things. Now, before we start, obviously, with the first question to Enoch, my first question is that, Coach Enoch, welcome, sir. Obviously, we have people from different parts of the world. I have guys from Ghana, Uganda, Swaziland, England, New Zealand. There's so many guys that have joined us. So, and also obviously our coach there is currently at home in Netherlands there. So I'm not sure about the time difference, but in this side, it's 10 past 4. So, Coach, thank you, sir. My first question is, who determines culture? Because I think this question will lead to my to the official question on the topic that we wanted to talk about. So, who determines the culture of the team? Is it the players, the coach?
Thanks, Dooms. Good afternoon, everyone, all the coaches. It's an honor, to be honest, to be given this opportunity to share some knowledge and obviously as much information as possible, but also to hear from your guys' side. Yeah, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks, Dooms, and I'm sure that the next couple of minutes are going to be fruitful. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to shoot straight into it. Basically, I mean, who determines that? I think mostly the players. I'll give my reasons around that. It's purely because coaches come and go, and you know, we've seen it in different organizations as well, where organizations basically have their own culture, their own value system that's in place, and their job is to ensure that they find a fitting coach that's going to actually take the team forward, and whatever their goal might be. Obviously, you know, that gets determined by the board or whoever the owner of the organization. So yeah, in you know, just to answer your question, I think the team, the players, they need to drive the culture of the team. Because if the coach gets fired in, you know, within a year, in the space of a year or two, you know, they're gonna need somebody. You've seen in different instances where coaches, especially in football, where coaches have been fired after 6 months. It has happened in cricket as well, and there needs to bring in somebody in the interim phase. But then who is actually going to drive the culture of the team up until the end of season or for the next coming years is going to be the responsibility of the players. So, but yes, we have seen around the world different styles different styles of coaching. We've seen different cultures. We've seen different models as well that has actually worked. So there's no wrong or right. Ultimately, it's what works for the organization, for the team. But from my experience, I think it's important that the coach obviously forms part of forming the culture, but gets driven by the players.
Okay, so how does everybody now get a buy-in into the culture? Because I think that's where my question was, that most of the time we talk about the culture and we don't even have an idea in terms of how do we make sure that people buy into that culture. Now, my question obviously is that how do we get the people that we work with, whether it's players, whether it's organizations or whoever, how do we get them to buy into the culture?
Yeah, you know, to be honest, it's a hell of a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that it requires a lot of patience. But first and first, you know, talking from my experience and talking from what I've actually researched and studied, it's important that obviously as a coach, when you come into an environment, that you have some sort of a philosophy, or your own philosophy as a coach. Because a lot of what's going to come out of forming the ultimate culture of the organization or the team, you know, it's got to align to your beliefs as a coach as well, to make your job a lot easier, to drive certain systems in whatever environment you're working in. So first and first, I would, you know, if I'm talking from experience, I think having a workshop, it's important. You know, get as many people that will be involved in whatever vision that needs to be achieved. I think that's important. If I talk from a team's perspective, so your players, obviously your management team, your technical team, whoever is going to be part of that, it's important that they're present. Because there's a whole lot of things that you're gonna have to deal with. You know, even if it means that the workshop is over 2 to 3 days, there's basically no cricket. All it's all about focusing on what has happened in the past, what has worked, what has not worked, where's the team currently, and where's the team going. Obviously, every coach that comes into the setup has a vision, and but you know, on a professional side, by the time you come into an environment or organization, it's pretty clear what the organization vision is. You know, are you aligned to that kind of a vision as a coach? And hope you are aligned to it, because then obviously you can all speak the same type of language. So it's important that the workshop takes place and you unpack as much as possible. All right, to free up the environment. And the environment to be authentic. And in doing so, one of the first things you got to do as a coach leading the workshop you gotta ensure that your own philosophy is understandable to the environment, to the players, staff, and so on. So your own philosophy is important, because then that sort of outlines or gives everybody, whoever is there, gives the environment a clear picture of what you're all about, where you're going as a coach, and can the team actually come with you on that journey, and you obviously helping the team to form that type of a culture. I mean, one of the biggest things, obviously, we talk about beliefs, we talk about the values, the value system that's going to work for the team. It's not about you as a coach imposing those values and beliefs, but it's about what the team believes can be put in place. What sort of a blueprint can be put in place in order for the team to achieve whatever goal or vision it might be at hand. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, it is a taxing job, but you know, I mean, if I share some of my experiences with the Lions, you know, it took us 2 days to come up with some sort of a base that we can work from, some sort of a foundation that we can work from a team culture point of view, what we're looking to put in place, what sort of values, what sort of system, what blueprint ultimately is going to work for us, that we believe is going to work for us, and it's going to get us to a point where we can actually be dominant in South African cricket. That is just an example I'm giving. And I mean, you know, you cover things like brand of cricket. You cover, you know, I've spoken about the values, which are very, very important, because that's your core guideline to ensuring that whenever you come across challenges or success on this journey to success, that, you know, you don't deviate from where you guys are going. Because I know what you know, from my experience, teams can quickly deviate from their vision when things are actually going well. But when things are not going well, you know what happens. So those are some of the things that you got, and you gotta be deadly honest. You gotta be robust about it as well, because if it's a tick box kind of exercise, I strongly don't believe that it's, you know, everyone will buy into it. You know, it's got to come from almost from your soul, and everybody's got to feel it. By the time the 2-3 days is done, everybody's got to walk away from that room, yes, uncomfortable, but excited at the same time, looking forward to what can be executed. But obviously the biggest challenge as a team is when it comes to executing your blueprint, what you've actually put into place. And I mean, once your players buy into it completely, your biggest challenge as a coach is to make sure that you guide that blueprint. But then obviously in that process, you'll have a core group of players, whether it's an experience or inexperience, doesn't really matter. Players that actually, you know, have strong leadership qualities to lead a massive group of players. And those players will naturally come out. And that's one of the things that over those 2 to 3 days, you start to see those players who are players that are a lot more quieter, who are players that are more vocal, who are the players that make sense, who are the players that are making much more of an impact. And you can almost see the leaders that just stand out by themselves. And in that process also, you just sort of form a core group of guys that can actually drive the culture. And that, you got to leave it to the players to do that themselves. You don't force it to anybody else, because we have different type of leaders. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that players will totally buy into it in the first go. It could take a year, it could take 2 years. It could take 6 months, it could take a month, you know, but the most important thing is when it comes to executing your guys' blueprint as a team, is that you become consistent. And not only from players, but also your staff, your management team. And once everything becomes more consistent, then you'll see how players start to drive the team culture.
So, Coach, you spoke about, obviously, in this group here, we have coaches from level 4 right up to level 1. And some coaches may not understand what you mean by coaching philosophy. So my question is around obviously the coaching philosophy in terms of how does one get to know their coaching philosophy, and how is coaching philosophy related or closely linked with the coaching values? So with your personal values, basically, not coaching values, but your personal values.
Yeah, look, you know what? It's a work in progress. It's never set in stone. So, I mean, I remember back in 2018 March? March 2018, where I've been in Netherlands then for about 3 years. Yeah, and I sort of did a lot of homework, did a lot of research on YouTube, and obviously the internet, on the best coaches in the world that have been around the business in different sports, and what's their coaching philosophy. You know, what is a coaching philosophy? So that was something I've always tried to understand, and I came across Pete Carroll, who's still the Seahawks head coach in the NFL in America. So, and I mean, it took him about 20 odd years to actually come up with his coaching philosophy. And he has actually worked with that for the last, 15 years. And it's pretty simple. And what he did, how he actually unpacked it, he looked at certain things when he was young. He looked at his own character as a person. He looked at his own character as a coach, from his youth days to his senior days, from playing to coaching. He looked at certain things that he was pretty consistent at doing, and he came across a simple philosophy, which was be competitive, because he worked it out over those 20 years. I mean, he's been coaching for 40 odd years. So it took him 20 years to really come down to that. His life and coaching philosophy, it's all about being competitive, and that makes a lot of sense to him. So it's if to come up with your own philosophy, it obviously becomes a lot easier when you align it to your life philosophy, because then the message becomes consistent, becomes one. And what I did was I started to look at my playing, I started to look at me as a person, I started to look at my coaching in the past 10 years. What is it that I've been consistent, and listen, I mean, I still, mine is still work in progress. It's gonna probably take, I don't know, another 10 years, 20 years, maybe to simplify it to the core. And I mean, I'll share my coaching philosophy, which is aligned to my life as well. It's pretty simple. It's being yourself. And, that's something that I remember back in high school. My brother actually told me about that, is that, just be original about things that you do in life. And I've actually taken that on board since then. And so being yourself, being original, being authentic, it's one of my first pointers that is attached to my philosophy. The next one is mastering little things. So all the basic stuff that you do, whether it's a coaching, whether it's in life, you're not going to get it all right. Let's be honest, but at least you strive for some level of excellence. Nobody's perfect. So, if you constantly look to master all the basic things in life, the basic things at work, the basic things, in your coaching with your players, in your environment, and you're consistent with that, I strongly believe that it will get you to the next step, whatever that step might be, or it could, help you to reach new levels in life. So yeah, so it's being yourself, mastering little things. And the next one is find a way and make it work, because nothing is ever going to go very smooth. In life, there's always going to be challenges. In our sporting environment, in our cricket environment, there's always going to be challenges. So what do we do when we get confronted by that? Yes, when things are going well, everybody's happy. But when there's serious challenges within organization, serious challenges within the sporting team, what do you do? So it's you got to continue to keep finding ways to become more successful. Whatever your success, how you define it, doesn't matter. So you got to keep finding ways to become better as a person. So find a way and make it work. So whatever challenge you come across, find a way, because there's always a way. You know, and one thing, don't feel sorry for yourself. So it's finding a way of making it work, no matter what it is. And the last one is, you know, once I've done all those things where you've been yourself, mastering those things, finding a way of making it work, am I ready for a new challenge? You know, am I ready to move on to a new environment? Am I ready to climb up the ladder? So my next one is, you know, reach new heights. So, and like I said, you know, can you sit back or sit by yourself and honestly look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm ready for the next challenge. I'm ready to test my philosophy in a completely new environment, whether that could be somewhere in Africa, it could be somewhere in the States or somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Asia, doesn't really matter. But once you have a strong coaching philosophy and life philosophy in place, I strongly believe that it gives you so much confidence to go into any environment, and you can really sell yourself, and you can really channel the environment in the direction that you believe, or in the direction of the organization vision or goal that it may be. So yeah, I just thought, you know, just to simplify everything, you know, share my own coaching philosophy and yeah, I mean, it's not something that you can get right overnight. It is a process, and maybe in 10 years time, when we actually all chat as coaches, I would have simplified my coaching philosophy. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will open up for question. I think I saw Sia in here. Please, it's either you direct them to Sia or you or you raise your hand. Then we will give you an opportunity for, to ask or comment on the topic about culture, or on what. In response to what Coach Enoch has mentioned, and obviously share your thoughts. So we'll only take about 5 people, one at a time, then we'll see what will happen from there. So we're ready for the questions or comments. See, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Afternoon, everyone. Is everyone able to just put their question on the group chat? As a text, or if it's long, then obviously just give me a signal of sorts or thumbs up on the actual chat. Okay. I'm not receiving anything yet.
Okay, I think Freddie Chlobler had a question. I'm not sure whether he wanted to post it wanted to ask it as private, or he wanted to obviously to comment or ask us here. Freddie, are you here?
Yes, guys, I'm here. No, I just posted on the chat group. How's it, everybody? I just asked on the chat group, can we post a question there as well? And from there, obvious, Enoch or one of the guys can answer. So it wasn't a specific question. So it was just if we can post on that side, if that's okay.
Oh, okay.
I see one from David. I see one from Mosey. So I've got 2 at the moment, but it's I think it was sent privately to me.
Okay, let's go. Shoot.
Yeah. What do you do when the team culture and your own culture don't align? That's the first one, Coachy.
When the team culture doesn't align.
So when the team culture and your culture do not meet or don't align with each other.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tricky one. Then something must have gone wrong in the process of recruiting the coach. But I mean, obviously those things can happen. So something that I believe, you know, from my side, is that as coaches, we need to be flexible. And we need to have the skill to observe the environment and try to understand it, what's all about. And you know, with if you're flexible enough as a coach, I strongly believe that you'll be able to sort of, you know, maneuver yourself, put yourself in a position where you can drive a certain level of what the team wants. Because ultimately you're there to serve and make a difference. You're not there to, you know, to what is it? Maybe you're not the owner of the team. You know, the players need to take that full responsibility. You know, yes, you're going to be responsible for results, etc., but it's going to come down to your work, and that's why your leaders in the team, your core group of guys in the team, that's why it's important that you can actually have the same level of thinking in order for them to help you. But I mean, if it is clashing, which we have seen in different teams, yeah, somebody's gonna get the X. And generally, it's not the captain; it's always a coach. You know, like Yogi always used to say, you know, just always be prepared to get fired. So do your utmost best in the opportunity that you have as a coach to help drive the environment to new levels. But you're bound to get fired at some point.
100%. Dave, I hope that answers your question. Can I move on to the next one, Mr. Skade? This is for Dumile from Mosey. What is the coach's development philosophy of CGL? Mike, answer.
Sia, please repeat the question.
What is the coach's development philosophy of Central Gauteng Lions? That is from Mosey.
We do not have a particular, but the one that I use, obviously as a coach education manager at CGL, is that you are never too old to learn. And that is why it's important for a person to continue to find material resources and basically ways to grow. And one of the things, obviously, that we do at CGL, we do shadow coaching, obviously with the senior and senior, sorry, with the senior coaches. So there's so many things that one can do to grow themselves. So there's no particular philosophy that we have written down from a coach education or coach development point of view. However, the one that I use is obviously what I've mentioned already, that we believe that you are never too old to learn. And especially when you are in the space of coaching where you deal with people, you will always have to make sure that you find new ways, find new things that you need to do, and obviously continue to learn from coaches, from other coaches, from your players as well. I'm not sure if that answers the question.
I hope so. Mosey, I hope you're satisfied with that answer. The next one, the third question, is from Mr. Gift Mate, the coach of the coaches at Cricket South Africa. He would like to know from Coach Enoch, who drives the culture in a school team where the team changes every 2 years? That's a good one.
It is. Yeah, having gone through that schooling system, it does come back to the players, because, you know, I've worked under different, I don't know how many, 3, 4 coaches when I was in high school. So I still believe that, especially in your traditional cricketing schools, but also in your non-traditional, because I've played in different teams, and it's been very, very clear that obviously back then there was still this whole thing of senior players, a senior group of guys who are in grade 11 and grade 12. They would drive the environment.
Sorry, I just want to say something quickly. Sorry, hold that thought. Gents, we're on 40 minutes now. I'm not sure it will cut in any minutes. Or sorry, ladies and gents, may cut at any minutes. Please make sure that you use the same logging details when it does that. Then we'll come back and continue on that. But for now, it's showing that 40 minutes. I don't know how much time do I still have. As long as you still have.
I think it upgraded to full to max time, to unlimited time.
Oh.
Yeah, I got
Oh.
that message.
Oh, okay. Sharp. Okay, let's continue, Coach Sharp.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll still say that players do. Like I've said, you know, you even in those school teams, you still have your core group of players who mostly are in your grade 11, grade 12, or someone that has been playing in the first team for a good 2, 3, 4 years. That will continue to drive the culture of the team or the school culture. You know, and it's a lot easier, to be honest, even at a school level, because the whole school has certain philosophies or value system that's in place. So it doesn't really matter who the coach is. Ultimately, it's your core group of players that drives the culture.
Yeah. Does that answer the question for you, Mr. Gift Mate? I hope. And then I've got another one for you, Coach Enoch, from Nick, asking what aspect of your culture is, in your understanding, invisible to others. So, which part of your culture is not visible to other people?
What do you mean? Other people, as in?
So the external. So let me repeat the question. Sorry.
Yeah.
What aspect of your culture is, in your understanding, invisible to others?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in today's sport, it's as a team, you make a decision on what needs to be out there in the public, what needs to be maintained in a team environment, what needs to be closed in. So it's hard to actually answer that, because different environments prefer to do things in a certain way, and ultimately I think as a team you need to come to some sort of agreement and say, okay, this we keep within the change room, and this we're happy to share it with the public, to for them to actually understand our journey, where we want to get to and what we want to achieve, which I think it's important. I mean, if any of you guys have been watching the Australian documentary, The Test, I mean, it's been fantastic, so refreshing. And they were not shy to share their core values as a team, what needs to be reconnected or rebuilt. They were not scared to share that, and they shared their values. They shared some of their secrets in public. So yeah, ultimately, if as a coach, if you're comfortable with that, as a team you're comfortable with that, so be it. Because ultimately, what happens is what you do at practice, how you live your team's culture on and off the field, and obviously the performances on the field. A lot of people will probably not know how, but they might know why and the what. So yeah, hopefully that answers that.
100%, Coachy. Happy with that. I hope it helps, Nick. From Chad McCanda, I hope I've pronounced that correctly. He's asking, what do you think? It's a bit more of a technical question. What do you think of natural hitters of the ball? How would you direct them as they are still young and you don't want them to lose that ability?
That directed to me, I suppose.
Yes, Coachy,
Yeah.
you got to give us something here.
Okay, I think I can see the question you direct them is. Yeah. You know what? I think, as part of my philosophy, I think it's important that as soon as, obviously, as a coach, you identify that natural ability, that you give it an opportunity to, you give it space, encourage it, because I've seen some coaches quickly go into trying to correct the certain player, which, to be honest, I don't think is the best way. Unless it's in line with injury prevention. But if it's not, I think just allow the player, the younger they are, obviously, the better. So allow the player to reach whatever level of skill, they can. So I'll just allow them to be, not change anything, to be honest. Obviously there's always going to be one or two little things that you might pick up, and if you got to be mature enough as the coach as well, just to maybe have a small conversation and try and tap into the player, what they actually think, how they see things. And it's important that building those individual relationships, those relationships are so important, because if you just only look at a group, that's gonna give you a lot more challenges. So do give time to individuals and try and understand them from a technical aspect of the game, and obviously on the non-technical side, because you'll find most of those players as well who, technically some of them are not great, but bloody hell, up here mentally, they just, on another level. I can give an example like Graham Smith. He worked it out already at the age of 15. I remember having a conversation with him when we went to Coke Week in '99 in Poch, and because I was just trying to understand with his technique, how is he able to score so many hundreds at such a young age? I mean, he'll score 100 on Saturday for Cares, and he'll score another 100 for Old Dads on a Sunday in the Premier League. How is he able to do that? And his thing was very simple. He made peace with his technique. He knew that he's not the best looking technical player. Back then he was 15 years old, but he had a clear vision. It was very clear to him where he wanted to go, what he wanted to achieve, captaining the country and being the best player in the world. And he made peace with his technique, and he said, okay, what is my strength? He knew that mentally is one of his biggest strengths. So he's going to ensure that he thrives on that. But, whatever he can with his technical game, he just got to work with that. He had, and that's one of the things. He found a way to make it work, and actually worked out for him. He never fought it. He just made it work. And that is just pure mental strength. And luckily, he had a coach that encouraged him, to go on that journey. So it's important as a coach that you're flexible enough to allow certain individuals just to thrive in their own way. Let's not hold them back, because we have certain beliefs in from a technical point of view.
100%. I hear you, coach.
Okay, thank you.
Can I answer one more? Get one more in there.
Yeah, one more,
got
then
one short one.
we go to the next topic. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. This is from, I think the reason why I want to ask this one is because it's from I think we've got a couple of scouts. I've gone mute. Sorry about that. This is from one of the scouts, Mr. Braden Dixon. And he's asking, saying, hey, Enoch, how do you set up a culture in a short space, i.e. with a Cubs sort of setup when you only really see the team just before the tournament?
Oh man, that's difficult. You can, to be honest, if I look back to my own experience, now I'm using the T20 experience and I'm using my under 19 experience. We only developed a culture after 2-3 years, because we started to see what we do consistently as a team, and it almost became our image, our identity as a team. So to set it up in one go, it's always going to be a challenge. You almost gotta, obviously you pick the best of the best, unless as an organization, as the team, for example, I'll use Lions in this example. Unless it's very clear from a Lions professional team, what the brand of cricket, what culture is, what sort of culture is there already, that needs to be driven forward. There's a clear identity from the professional team which needs to filter down to your junior your junior department. So unless there's something like that, there's a clear blueprint, then it's easier to drive that, you know, to come up with some sort of a culture at under 90 level. But if there's nothing like that, or it's gonna take you 2-3 years to nail down the blueprint of, you know, it could be the Cubs way, the Lions under 19 Cubs way, which is aligned to the professional team, the Lions. So yeah, it's a tough one. I won't lie. Like I said, it took us about 2 to 3 years to really find our formula, our winning formula, our developmental formula as well. How we're gonna fit into the Lions Academy and the Lions team. Yeah, it took some while. Yeah, and I'm hoping that by obviously through selection that there's clear role definitions, because also that will help the team to understand why they actually at Cubs Week. What's the whole purpose? Well, what does it mean to the franchise? What does it mean to the team? Role definition is one of the most powerful things. I know it's very simple, but once that is clear, I think from a distance you can determine what sort of brand of cricket that needs to be played and on, you know, over the next 5 days. But you know what? One of the things you never compromise on is just the basic human values. That you gotta have in place. Your behavioral values, that's important. You gotta have that from where it go, so that the team knows that, okay, on and off the field, this is how we're gonna behave, and that also helps to define the way forward. So that can help you also glue the team.
100%. Okay, I hope that helps, Braden. Thank you, Mr. Skade.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. We'll come
you,
back
Coach.
to, I see that we have about 5 more questions. And I see that Gift is also interested in hearing from other senior coaches. As we can see, we have the franchise coaches in terms of, obviously, we have the franchise coaches, the scouts, and I think it would be interesting to hear their thoughts on the topics, sort of on the topic that we have shared. So, but what I will do now is that we'll leave that towards the end, where obviously for us to be able to hear from other senior coaches that we have here, the senior provincial and also the franchise coaches that we have here. Because I know that Greg is also doing his level 4, Greg Smith is doing his level 4, so he's one of the senior coaches, so definitely we will be able to share, to hear or understand their thoughts. I'm talking about English level 4. So yes, so now Coach, one of the difficult things to do as a coach is to have those tough conversations, especially around the selection of the team, the renewal of contracts. At junior level, obviously, it's more towards obviously selecting the playing 11. And now we need to also be able to talk to the ones that are not selected. In fact, I remember one time, I think it was around 2004, coaching Eastern's under-17 team. There's a player who basically scored 3 ducks in 3 days. We were at the National Week. And on the 3rd day, we were chasing 26, and he scored a duck. And I set him out, obviously, for the next game. And the parent came and asked me, why is my son sitting out? Now, obviously, we spoke to the player, but the parents, we also have parents that you need to deal with. Now, how do we have those tough conversations? And obviously, I think the first part would be at junior level, it's players, obviously sitting out the players, where you have to deal with the player, and also obviously the parents. The second part is obviously at school level, when a teacher, so when a parent is one of the rich parents who buys the kit for the school, and then you have to sit their child out. And the last part is obviously when you have to talk about the renewal of contracts and not and players that you don't want to contract on that particular year based on their performances or whatever. So how do we basically have those tough conversations as coaches? What are the things that we need to look at for us to be able to have those tough conversations?
Yeah, it's never an easy position, to be honest, to have those tough conversations, but they gotta happen. And depending on what sort of a blueprint as a team, what sort of a culture you've developed as a team, which in most cases, if the whole process was done properly, it does help. It gives, it actually puts you in a much stronger, powerful position as a coach to have those tough conversations, because everything that gets spoken about from a selection, whatever it may be, all right, strategy, tactics, it speaks to the blueprint of the team, speaks to where the team is going, or where the organization going, what the organization wants to achieve. So your own leadership as a coach in that in that moment in time is been tested, and how consistent, how honest. So, and which brings me to my next point of, you gotta be totally honest, which is the most uncomfortable feeling, because you have emotions, you have feelings as a coach, and sometimes you feel sorry for the player, because sometimes they've done absolutely nothing wrong, but it just on that day, these are the conditions, and you believe, you and the captain and the selection panel, you believe this is going to be the best 11 to go out there on the field and win the game. So, and that's got to be honest. Don't try and sugarcoat and beat around the bush and try and make the player feel better. It's going to be uncomfortable and for that moment, but I can guarantee you right now, going forward, the player is going to have the utmost respect for you. Whether you get it right or wrong, it's immaterial. It doesn't matter. And I've got a lot of things wrong. And so some of the best coaches in the world, they've got so many things wrong. Just like our players, they'll score a lot of ducks, and they will have a small percentage of success. So don't be shy. Don't be scared to have those tough conversations, because of the parent. It might look at you differently, or they've invested so much. Maybe the parent, it could be somebody that sponsors the team, is the head sponsor of the team, and the son is just not producing the goods, and you're scared of doing that. It shouldn't be, and it's important that from the start, as part of your culture, that you develop those relationships. You develop the relationships with the player and the parent, obviously at a junior level, but obviously at senior level, a lot more responsibility lies with the player. So you try and connect as much as possible, and start having those honest conversations from the start. Because the moment you give in, I'm telling you now, you're gone. Players, they will know when you sugarcoating. They will know when you, sorry to use a word, when you actually bullshit them. They know that. Players, they always ask for honesty, but they're never comfortable with that. I don't think a lot of people are comfortable with that. But the more you practice that, you execute that as a coach, honesty, and you're actually open to that, it becomes second nature. You become a lot more comfortable with, being honest in your work. And again, it goes back to your character as a coach. If you're that honest individual, some people are going to like it, some people are not going to like it. And that's just how you operate. So that's one of the things I would actually encourage, that, execute honesty from the word go, so that the environment knows this is how you operate. Hence, I said, if you have a philosophy, put it into place, make it clear to the team, make them understand what your philosophy is. Because looking at the blueprint of a team, the culture of a team, your own philosophy, the vision, and all that, bring it all together. I'm telling you now, it's going to put you in a better position to have those tough conversations. And you know what? And parents will always find ways. But the sooner you can be honest with them from the word go, I think those conversations becomes a lot easier with parents as well. And I've had some tough experiences, especially at under 19, where a parent felt this player should be playing in that. Back then we still had those 3-day competition. A certain parent believed that should be playing ahead of this one, and I had my reasons. And I was able to sit down with confidence, even though it was uncomfortable, able to sit down with a parent and say, look, okay, these are the fixtures. This is what we're looking to do. This is what our agreement with the team, because some of the things that you discuss with the team as a team, the blueprint you come up with, especially junior level, it's a bit of a challenge because some players, they don't go back home and share that with their parents. So their parents also, they're coming from a dark place where they have very little information of where the team is going. So it's important that you also, if you're comfortable again, I think one of the guys asked that question, I think it was Nick, can you share a bit of your team culture with the parent, with the external people, so that they can actually start understanding where you're going with the team. So, and that's going to be important at junior level. At senior level, is a lot more easy, obviously, to drive such because you're not babying anybody at senior level. So yeah, I just hope that that sort of covers your question. But another thing, one of the biggest things that you gotta have is courage as a coach. There's no two way about it. There's no being nice guys. You can be nice guys off the field, but when it comes to business time, when it comes to coaching, when it comes to being in that sort of environment, it's ruthless. It's a ruthless environment. Doesn't matter what level you're at. So have the courage to drive whatever you need to. To execute the difference, whatever difference you want to make, go 100%. To ensure by the time you get fired or you leave the environment, you can reflect and say you did it your way. Nobody else, forced it onto you to do it a certain way, and then you leave the environment with regrets. That's something, that's probably for some coaches or some people, it's one of their downfalls, and obviously it's hard, but that's one of the things you just gotta have. If in order for you to grow in coaching, and the higher you go, the more ruthless the environments are, and you got to have the courage. You got to have the courage to make decisions, because a lot of things are gonna come back to you as a coach. The board is gonna ask you as a coach, what's going on? Why players misbehaving? Why players behaving in a certain way? So you gotta be in a strong position to answer to the board why the team is heading the direction that the team is going. So honesty, the courage, obviously your own qualities as a leader, they gotta be evident.
Yeah,
and obviously being able to connect to the players. Yeah.
Thanks, Coach, for that. I just want to get some thoughts on the senior provincials, academy coaches, and also especially like the franchise coaches. I think it's the only one that I see here. It's Wandile. May we get your thoughts around these discussions in terms of obviously what if you have any process that you're following when you have these tough conversations? What are your thoughts around that? And also obviously coaches like Sandile and Nsia and probably Greg, if we can have some thoughts on those coaches. That what are your thoughts in terms of when you have those type of tough conversations around the tough conversations? Yes, Riggs.
To me, good afternoon to everybody. I hope everybody is good and their families are still healthy and strong. Good to talk to Enoch again. Yeah, I think it's vitally important that one of the things Enoch probably wanted to, he might have wanted to talk about that we always speak about is consistency. And it's always nice and easy to start the process of having these team talks and workshops and all these tough chats. But at the end of the day, what you say today has got to make sense until the rest of the season. And I'm going to jump back into the brand of cricket we spoke about earlier. And for many coaches, especially in the high fault, and I'm lucky enough that I'm somebody that grew up in the coast, and I know exactly how the guys think and how they play in the coast, is coming into the high fault, guys like going after the cricket ball. They love playing the expensive brand of cricket where they just want to go and hit it. And they're very aggressive, and we speak a lot about that. And most of the time when it does not come off, the language changes. And surprisingly enough, that's something that I've also seen here at franchise cricket, where the coaches do change their tune when when everything doesn't go exactly their way. So with everything that Enoch has said, I think it's vitally important that we practice consistency, which is one of my values, which is probably one of the toughest, because days are different. You work with different players. You work with a coaching staff sometimes that does not really buy or agree with the way that you work. But with time and consistency, I think people start understanding what exactly you're all about and what exactly you wanna achieve. And talking about the philosophy, and I speak a lot about philosophy with him, Enoch. And just to share my philosophy is always bring your best. And I think it's vitally important that we share. Philosophy has got to be something that is over and beyond and bigger than cricket. Because when cricket is not around, you gotta have something that you're gonna have to fall back into, and that's your life. And for me, life teaches you quite a lot. And I don't believe that a coach should be far away from the a coach should be far away from the way he lives his life. And that's something that we always speak a lot about with cricket players, that your philosophy has got to be as close as to how you live your life. And with that, with my three pillars on top of that is honesty, hard work, and consistency, which for me, the biggest one is consistency. So overall, I do agree with everything that Enoch has said, but just to touch base on consistency and how important it is. And hard work for me is a non-negotiable, and honesty, like you said earlier. It's easy to be honest at the beginning of the season, but to be honest until the rest of the season when things are going tough is very tough. So I've enjoyed it so far, and I'm hoping that he's going to share quite a lot.
Coach Sandy, any thoughts? Or Sia, any thoughts on your side?
My thing is on the school coaches being in that under-19 environment. Is my method that I've tried to work with, and I believe has worked in the past few years, is an honest conversation from day one when that squad or team is announced. So having everyone in one room to share the same vision, to put yourself out there as a coach, and as Enoch has also said, and Wandy's also said, you need to be consistent, and Enoch has said you also need to be brave. You need to put yourself out there and be willing to be vulnerable by what you stand by as a coach. So for me, when the Gauteng team gets picked, the 19 side, the week after the team is selected, everyone's with their parents in the room, presentation on what we're going to do, how we're going to go about it, how the team is selected, and so that everyone has an idea, so that come December 16 at Coke Week, I'm not answering questions about why Johnny is sitting out on day one of Coke Week. Everyone understands their role, and it's well defined through training in that summer program, preparing for the tournament, and conversations are had about how to execute that role. So that's the main thing for me. And then everyone kind of falls in line, and I haven't had much backlash or questioning of how the program of under-19 cricket has worked in the past 2 years. But also as a coach, you've got to take from the guys that have succeeded before you. So the stuff that you can use. So the way, the professionalism that Enoch had left behind and passed on to Sandy and then Wandy is an inherent culture from a coaching perspective at Gauteng, that is passed on openly about how we're going to go about doing things. And then in terms of coaching philosophies, for me, it's about fronting up, is the one thing that I want from myself, and because that's how I've always had to do things as a person, and I bring that into my coaching, and challenging your environment and accepting the challenge and being honest and forthright. Those are the main three things that I believe add to the value of my philosophy and the way I like to do things. And I pick stuff from Enoch, from yourself, Dumila, from Wandy, and invariably through time, I think as a coach, you find a way that consistently works for you, for the environment that you're in. So consistently, meaning that you do it everywhere you go. Whether it works or fails, you live by that sword and you die by it, because those things are also attached to who you are as a person. So you can't change for other people. You can't change because now you're in the Highveld and these guys are superstars and you come from the coast. So as Wandy said, consistency and sticking to who you are as a person fundamentally reflects in the way you coach. So yeah, that's my 2 cents piece on that.
Okay, so here's my thoughts now. Before I give to Sandy, do you have any thoughts, sir? Switch on your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, sir.
Okay, cool. I think the three gentlemen has covered everything, to be honest with you. There's something that I also strive on. It's like honesty, and most importantly for me, it's communication. I think that's something that I try to learn as quickly as possible as a coach, to make sure that I'm consistent in terms of communication, because you get players, especially before you pick the team. I try to make sure that I communicate with the players prior before I announce the side, and that's something that I've been trying to be consistent in terms of that. And then for me, also the most important thing is try to create a good environment that the guys can learn, environment that guys can thrive, and the environment that allows the guys to be themselves. Because I always believe that for you to play a good brand of cricket, or for you to able to excel, you need to be yourself. And that's something that I try to make sure I communicate to the guys. I try to make sure that the guys understand that to be themselves instead of try to be somebody else, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to go in there and try to play the best brand of cricket as possible. So that's a couple of things that I'm going to add from what obviously Enoch, Wandi, and Sia has mentioned on top of that.
Okay. Sia, I'm thinking, before we deal with the last question, I think we need to deal with the questions that I'm seeing there, because I see some interesting questions there on the chat group. And if we can try and attend to those questions and see how far we can go with them, because I think we are left with about 10 to 15 minutes. So if we can try and attend to the questions there, that we get into that. And also, I think we also need to select some few questions there. There's questions that I don't think we should be taking, because this is only about coaching, things that are happening in the Proteas and Lions and whatever. I think that will leave it. If the question is not related to coaching, I don't think we should be talking about it, especially when it comes to the different environments where the coaches are working. I hope we all clear there. Let's go.
Okay, I'm happy with that. I think this is quite an interesting one, because it does link to Enoch's philosophy, and where he's taken some of his things from, and the values that he's instilled along the way. So Christo's asked, how much have you taken from Pep Guardiola? I think other football fans won't like this, as a coach, in terms of how he develops cultures. I knew you'd love it.
Yeah, well, to be honest, one of the strong things I actually took, after he coached in Barcelona for 4 years, and some of his mistakes from that, and and going to work in Germany for Bayern Munich. He mentioned one of the interesting things, because obviously you work with quite a big stuff, whether it's medical or or technical or whatever it may be. He worked with 30 members of management. So, and that was quite large. So one thing he actually started to look at was, how can he delegate well? So that's where the trust factor kicks in. And just listening to him and reading his book about it, it was quite something that personally I also needed to look into, on how I can actually build better relationships with my own staff. How can I actually take a risk and throw them with certain responsibility, delegate very well, and trust that they will produce the goods over a period of time, and allow them to do that. Because you don't just give somebody a role and then expect them to execute it straight away. You got to give them time, because they also need to understand how you work, how you think. So delegating well, whether it's a practice, matches, whatever it may be, that's one of the things. And courage was one of the biggest things. And he speaks a lot about courage, because on daily basis, you are challenged as a coach. Whether a player misbehaves or one of your staff, it could be poor performances on the field, could be whatever it is that actually ends up landing on your lap as a coach. And you got to have the courage and you got to be consistent, like Wendy has said, in ensuring that your vision, your message, it's well promoted, and you can also deliver it to whoever the person is, or to the team, or to the board, whoever it is. So those are some of the true things. I mean, outside of taking football to another level in terms of the style, that's something that we can actually talk about the whole day. But having the courage as well to go to England and implement that style of football, and how many people can actually do that? And you guys have said it. You gotta have it, and you gotta have the confidence as a coach to move into a new environment, and don't compromise your beliefs. Don't compromise in terms of what you're about and where you want to take the team. Because the moment you give in, you're gone. You're gonna lose yourself. You're gonna lose the team, and then you're gonna regret. And that's something you don't want to do. So, and that's one of the things I actually respect. I know he's not the most liked individual, but one of the things he's been consistent is his belief in the style of football and how he deals with the rest of the team, and the courage, and his messaging has been very, very consistent. So, and he's been successful. So there's definitely something that he's doing that's really working. And yeah, I mean, he's not gonna be, as a coach, if you're gonna go into an environment and want to be liked, you're in the wrong industry. As a coach, you're not gonna be liked because you're gonna press certain buttons at times, and players are not gonna like you. They're not going to respond well to you, but ultimately they'll get the clear picture.
Mike, okay. Thank you very much, Coachy. I hope that answers the question. Let's go to I think the only lady in the group here that has asked you, Coachy. As a coach, how do you deal with a player that is burnt out? I don't know if it's throughout the season or sporadically, or so fatigued or burnt out. What are your types of conversations with them?
Yeah, obviously, if the player hasn't followed the protocols, the blueprint of the team, it becomes an issue. And again, it's going to come back to honesty. But if the player has been, and it's just unfortunate, it's one of those honest conversations you got to have. And if it means you need to bench them to protect them, to get the best out of them right at the back end of a season, you got to do that. And it's hard for players to understand that at times, especially halfway through the season when they're thriving. And one of the models I've actually shared in team environments that I've worked with is there's no one. I've got this philosophy of 80-20 ratio, 80%, 20% ratio that I work with. And in order, this is just my belief, in order for environment to thrive over a period of time, there's certain skill set that you got to have, obviously, in order for you to thrive, including the team culture and so on. And if you cannot, as a human being, thrive at 80+% in different formats in every single game, obviously you're giving it 100% in competition. And at practice, I would believe that you're giving it 200%, to be in a better position to deal with pressure in competition time, to execute 100%. So over a period of time, I mean, to thrive at 80+%, it's insane. It's almost impossible. So that's where you come in as a coach, and your coaching team, your coaching staff, and your medical team is how well can you actually manage an individual who is a star in the team, he's thriving, he's performing week in, week out. When do you find the actual window period where you can actually say, hey, I'm going to withdraw you for a week. I need you to completely switch off from the game and go somewhere else. Don't talk about the game. Don't watch the game. Just do something completely different. So I've got this model that I use, that when you're thriving, how do you come back to recharge? And recharging is not going to think about cricket or going to work on basic skills about cricket. It's completely switching off, do something completely different. If it means you need to go to the mountain for 4 days, 5 days, so be it. Whatever works for you as an individual, that's important. But if you don't manage that whole process well, because obviously you're constantly looking for results, it's going to give in. And just understand that that player in certain matches, they're unable to give 100%. And that could actually be detrimental to the team. Do you want that to happen? But we also, as coaches, we're responsible for the well-being of the players. We can't just allow them to burn out or break down. We've had instances in the past where players have gone up to the pro tiers. The intensity level was lifted, and then they break down, or they carry a bit of an ego, or they don't say anything, they come back, and we pick up something not right, and we just have the courage to say, no, you're not going to play. We got to look after you. We need you also at the back of the season, So yeah, it's obviously, if you have the luxury of having a squad of 20 or 15 players, that whole player management can actually work. It's not like in football where you can manage the game better. Messi can play 60 minutes, or can play 40 minutes, or it doesn't necessarily have to play 90 minutes. We don't have that luxury. But one thing we can do is in different formats, we can pull in certain players and say, take a week or miss 2-3 games, go away and do whatsoever. Because that's going to be important to try and manage that whole burnout over a season. And what it's also what you put in as a coach at the start of the season. One of the biggest thing is players got to learn to sleep well. A lot of our players in South Africa, probably worldwide, they don't know how to sleep well. Nutrition is one of the biggest things. Probably those two are probably your best recoveries. Can coaches and players sleep well to ensure that they're still giving it 100% the next day to players, to the environment, to help them to thrive? Can we as coaches also recharge? Get away from the game. I was fortunate. One of the things that actually helped me at Lions was in between small gaps that we had, I was able to completely recharge. So switch off, leave the country, go see my family in the Netherlands, even if it's 3 days or 5 days. And that actually gave me the space where I was able to completely just switch off about everything, and nobody could get hold of me, and then come back into the environment and then give it 100%. So if you can also, as a coach, lead by example in that department where you're consistent in terms of the environment you're creating. When you gotta switch off. But if you can't do that, you eventually burn out as well, and your players will look up to you and say, well, you're doing the same mistakes. Yeah.
Coachy, thank you for that.
Okay.
One.
Sorry to come in this.
Yes.
Just a quick one. We have about 5 minutes. Then we close the session for today.
Okay. Do you want?
Yeah. So you can take I think one. We'll take one and see how far it will take us. Then we will manage it like that.
Okay. And Sagube is asking Coach Enoch regarding the team culture. What are the negotiables and non-negotiables for you as a coach?
That gets decided by the team. And honestly, to drive a solid team culture, I'll give you an example. Yes, you're gonna have your own your own beliefs as a coach, but ultimately, you want the team to drive it. So I'll give you an example where, as a team, you decide if somebody's late. What do you do? Do you find them? Do you send them home? Who has that conversation with that individual? Do you allow that individual to practice? Those type of things. So in different environments, there's a fine system. Other environments that send a player home. And you as a coach, you got to be comfortable with that. So just don't be late. One of them is just don't be late for a session. That's something I'll never understand. So if you're based in Joburg, for example, I made an effort as a coach to lead, to to be at Wanderers either at 7 o'clock or 7:30. The latest I'll be at Wanderers is 8 o'clock. So that still gives me 2 hours to start up practice. But it wasn't because I didn't want to be late, but it was because I needed to ensure that I'm ready with my coaching staff for the session. So if there's something that needed to be discussed or reflect on or improve on, at least we still give ourselves enough time. The planning of practice sessions, if I want to engage something with a captain or with a player, there is time. So that's something I never understood, why people actually arrive late for sessions. Why take a risk knowing that you enjoy it, for example? There's heavy traffic, and if it rains, why take a risk and try and be there 5 minutes before? So it's a culture that, yeah, you want to implement and drive forward. And that's one of the things that we're very strong on, I know, at Lions Cricket. And it's something that we're strong on at Proteas. You know, obviously, when you're on tour, I mean, we leave guys behind. You know, if someone is late, he's late for the bus, cheers. You know, they're going to have to find their way to the ground, and we find them. And it's not, it's a heavy fine.
A day's meal allowance, coaching.
No.
Have I got time for one here?
No, sir. I think we will close the close of the session with coach with Gift Martin. Obviously, we'll get the parting words from Sia, but I would like to get the thoughts of Gift Martin on the two topics that we've covered, and also obviously his thoughts in general as our national coach education manager. What are his thoughts, and obviously take it from there. So, Coach Gift, are you still here?
I'm still here, Dumi. I'm just trying to get myself sorted out here. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you, sir, but we can't see you. Where are you?
Cool. Let me try and get my video up. Can everybody hear me? Okay, there you go. I've got a bit of a lockdown beard, so don't mind that. Yeah, it's been a tough month for everybody, and I'm hoping everybody is keeping safe with your families, and you're really taking care of yourselves out there. I think we're living in unprecedented times, and I think it's tough for everybody. Firstly, let me commend you for organizing such a wonderful forum, and from what I see already in the videos that are up here, I see people from Eastern Cape, everywhere. I see people from Uganda. So it was really good effort from your side to be able to put the guys together and be part of this coaching conversation. With regard to team culture, I think most of the speakers, the senior coaches, have already spoken about the importance of creating a team culture within a team, and how important that everybody who is within that particular environment. I think the key learnings that we've learned from the All Blacks with regard to how their culture was built back in the 70s and 80s, and how everybody, driven by Graham Henry, to make sure that everybody can be able to ensure that they drive a positive culture. Because let's be honest, you might be able to create a culture, but sometimes the culture can be really bad. Because the senior players that are supposed to be driving that culture are not really buying into the positive values that you're trying to instill in your team. And in that way, instead of heading north, your team is heading west. So just try and make sure that you're always holding those senior players accountable to be able to make sure that team culture is upheld. With regard to having tough conversation with players, I think this has always been a 31, not just for coaches in franchise level or senior provincial, but also for guys that are at senior level. And it's telling you now that sometimes it's really difficult to be honest with players. And just to give you a bit of background with regard to having tough conversation, we've had to include this type of conversation or topic at our senior coaches conference with our franchise and senior provincial coaches, where part of the feedback that we're getting from players mainly was that they feel that the coaches are not honest with them enough, and there's not honest conversations that are taking place with them, and sometimes it's about coaches just shying away from those tough conversations. And sometimes you don't have to raise your voice and act tough, but it's just speaking to facts without really getting emotional about issues. Because if it's the truth and you're consistent in the truth, just borrowing from Wander's words, all right, you get the credibility as a coach in terms of what you do on a continual basis. So yeah, I think just maybe one last parting shot. I know the stuff that's been the conversation that is taking place is mainly around what coaches do with their teams when the environment is normal. I think we are faced with different situations right now as coaches. I think the challenge now is how do we reach out to players in this particular time where they want to be out there practicing, working on their skills, and engaging with you on a physical level. And at this point, what they have is actually their yards and trying to do a bit of physical training that Nikita has given them, so they can be able to get up to scratch and not lagging behind when we get to normal days. So I think my plea to you is that I think it's a time for us to be able to also extend a bit of care towards them in terms of what is happening right now. Just hear them out, just making sure that everybody's out there is well, and making sure we can be able to always make sure that they have positive mindset with regard to what is happening right now. I think that only doesn't go to players only. I think everybody out here, I think the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, and I speak from a personal experience, was really tough for me because sometimes when you thrive on engaging with people in your office, you call your fellow coach developers who can be able to operate in that way. It becomes tough when you are locked in a house and you have to kind of do a remote type of video calling with the guys, and it's something that is not normal. So maybe something we can be able to look out for. Just be positive out there. Just make sure you iterate positive words in your vocab on a daily basis, so you don't get this kind of situation doesn't get you down. So yeah, Dumi, I didn't expect to speak actually at this particular forum. I wanted to kind of take a bit of background and not say too much because obviously this is your show. But once again, brilliant initiative. From a national perspective as well, we are working on rolling something out like this on a weekly basis where we'll speak on various topics. So in conjunction with the provincial coach managers like yourself, we're going to have to work differently because we're not going to be able to have courses like we normally do. So this type of environment where we have coaches virtually like this might be the future. Actually, might be the new way of doing things even after the lockdown and you get back to normalcy. So even how we do things as coaches, this might change forever. So I think let's just brace ourselves with the changes that are happening in our environment and how we can be able to look to improve ourselves with the type of technology that is here, that we can be able to improve the experiences of the players that we normally engage with. So thank you, Dumi. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'll give to Coach Enoch to give us parting shots, and then obviously we then I'll close the session. So thank you, Coach Enoch. What are your thoughts, sir? Your mic. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, coaches. I mean, it's been great, to spend this hour and a half just sharing some ideas, some information, and also listening to some of you guys. So yeah, I mean, it's Gift has said it. It's going to be tough, but let's get used to the new world of coaching. And I've spoken about relationships. I've spoken about strengthening those connections, and this also gives us an opportunity for us as coaches to strengthen the connection with our players, with our staff. I know it's not easy, but we just got to find a way and make it work during these tough times. I wanted to share something with you guys with regards to culture. Those who obviously read, I'm trying to find the link that I can just share it with everybody. But those who read a lot, I'll encourage you to actually buy a book called The Basa Way. It talks a lot about the Basa philosophy. But it's not only that. It speaks about the 5 different cultural models, that there's no right or wrong. There's, so he speaks about 5 different cultures. It's a guy called Damien Hughes. He's basically done a 2 to 3 year research around why is this thing called culture, different cultures, and why do different cultures in different environments actually work and thrive. So, and I mean, it's some of the, most powerful things I actually have learned over the last sort of year or so. And I'll encourage you to actually go read up about it. Dooms, what I can do, I can send you the link and you can share it with everyone, because I've been trying to find it. I mean, the 5 cultures are pretty simple. It talks about the star model, you associate that with Real Madrid. The engineering model associates that with Dortmund when Klopp was still at Dortmund. The commitment model, you associate that with Barcelona. The bureaucracy model, he associates that with Liverpool. And the autocracy model, he does associate that with Manchester United, say Alex Ferguson. And he actually breaks it down quite nicely, those different cultures. And some of you coaches, we all have different philosophies, and some of you guys might find yourself in in one of those cultures, and it's just gonna open up your mind in terms of maybe how you can have maximize your own philosophy in those type of. Other than that, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish everybody all the best. Please stay safe, and during this testing times, and I'm sure that we'll meet again when I'm back in South Africa. Yeah.
Thank you, Coachy. Gentlemen and lady, I'd like to apologize for the questions that we did not attend to. However, those questions have been noted, and we will find a way to basically to address them through these coaching forums. We're looking to have another one in the next few weeks, obviously with different coaches coming in to chat with us. And as we understand, obviously, the purpose of this is to help. I've always been of the belief that in order for, you cannot fill someone's vessel when your vessel is empty. So it's important as coaches that our vessels are always full so that we can be able to share with others. In closing, Sia just sent me a quote here, and he said, the quote reads as I quote, "We cannot solve our problems with the same level of, so we cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created the problems. That means we need to find ways that are higher than the problem that we are experiencing." Thank you, coaches, for your time. I know that obviously we are coaches, so we did not find, basically did not meet. We were supposed to have 1 hour, 20 minutes, and we went on to 1 hour, 40 minutes. I'd like to apologize for that. We'll do better next time. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the evening and stay safe.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, my leader. Great session.
Thank you, leadership. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you very much. Ciao, Reza.
Thank you, Dooms. Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen. Thanks.
Thanks to me. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to Enoch. Great session. Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks guys.
Sure.
Good, guys.
Thanks to me. Thanks, Enoch. Thanks. It was really encouraging, guys. Thank you.
You're welcome, General.
Pleasure, gents.
I think the guys from Alex don't want to log off.
I see them.
There's a question to me.
Are they listening?
Yeah, they are.
Thanks, Dumi. Great to see you, Gift.
Thanks, Andre.
Yeah, great to meet you.
It was great.
Cheers, Andre.
We're happy that you joined us, sir.
Great session. Fantastic.
Thank you, sir. We'll chat obviously privately in terms of obviously what are your thoughts of the session.
To me, let me actually WhatsApp the link to you now, and then you can share it on email or something.
Oh, perfect. I'll do so. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, gentlemen, so you guys waiting for me to just end the meeting?
No, I want to speak to you.
Long time.
Oh, you want to speak to me?
No, I think just give everyone an opportunity to thank you. So
okay.
You know what they say.
Haven't seen you a long time, Gift. How you doing?
Hey, Bob. All right, thanks, man. Under the circumstances, and you?
Yeah. Coach Enoch, how's it going? Thanks for the session, man.
Okay, cool. Now you're welcome, buddy. Are you good?
Thanks. Okay, cheers.
Cheers, man.
Doing brilliant stuff, man. Well done. I think the guys really enjoyed it. How many people do we have on the platform?
Supposed to be 90.
There's 90 people that have RSVP'd, but I think the maximum that was that logged on were I think 54. We had 54 people that logged in. Yeah. There are 54 coaches that logged in, and I saw that obviously we did not go live on Facebook, so probably I think that's where the problem was. The start did not go on live there, so
yeah. No, brilliant stuff, Coach Enoch. You're getting very busy with this stuff, right? I think you're getting the hang of it now. So you're the go-to guy with regard to doing this kind of things online.
That's gonna be the way forward for the next 2 years at least.
Yeah, I attended a forum now, actually, international forum with coach developers. Actually, they're starting to speak how they are supporting players just using online platforms like this and just making sure everybody can be able to keep saying.
Is it just the three of us, ne?
Yeah.
Yeah, just the three. So this is the way to go, and it might be that it is this kind of blend that we need to use going forward when we get to normal circumstances. But yeah, we have to embrace technology. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's well done, Dooms.
No. I should be saying thank you to you, because obviously this session would not have been a success without obviously you being part of it.